I never thought a simple invitation to a night party would unravel so many emotions inside me, but life has its way of surprising us when we least expect it. My name is Emily, I'm 39 years old, and I've been married to my husband, Daniel, for over 12 years. Our marriage has had its ups and downs, but through everything, we've always found a way back to each other. What happened on the night of his small house gathering with his friends reminded me not only of who we were as a couple, but also of who I was as a woman, separate from being a wife and a mother. It started with Daniel casually announcing over dinner that he was thinking of inviting his old college buddies for a night party at our place. At first, I wasn't sure what to make of it. We weren't exactly the party-throwing type, and I wondered if it would feel awkward. "They're just coming over to hang out, nothing fancy," he said with a grin, taking a sip of his iced tea. "It'll be good for all of us." I nodded, still a little uncertain, but I wanted to support him. The day of the party, I busied myself preparing snacks, setting up the living room, and making sure the place looked warm and inviting. There was a nervous energy in me that I couldn't shake. Maybe it was because I wanted to make a good impression, or maybe it was because deep down I was craving something different from our usual quiet evenings. By the time the doorbell rang that evening, our house smelled of fresh-baked pizza rolls, spiced chicken wings, and caramel popcorn. Daniel opened the door with the kind of enthusiasm I hadn't seen in him for a while, and one by one, his friends poured in. There was Jason, a tall and outspoken guy with a booming laugh, Michael, quieter but with kind eyes that noticed every detail, and Anthony, the jokester, who never seemed to take anything seriously. At first, I hovered near the kitchen, unsure of whether I should blend in or let them have their guys' time. But soon, they called me over, insisting I join them. "Emily, you've got to play this trivia game with us," Jason said, holding up a set of cards. "We need someone who can keep Daniel in check." The laughter that followed was warm, genuine, and I suddenly felt like I belonged in the room. We played games, shared stories, and before I knew it, hours had passed. At one point, Anthony asked how Daniel and I had first met, and I found myself retelling our love story, while Daniel listened with that familiar softness in his eyes. It struck me in that moment how sometimes we forget the roots of our relationships, and how important it is to water them every now and then. Later in the evening, as music played softly in the background, I realized something. The party wasn't really about food, games, or even old friendships. It was about connection. Each of Daniel's friends, in their own way, reminded me of different stages of life. Jason with his ambition, Michael with his quiet wisdom, Anthony with his humor, and Daniel, right there beside me, still the same man I chose years ago. But as the night grew deeper, emotions surfaced unexpectedly. Somewhere between laughter and conversation, I noticed Daniel watching me with a pride I hadn't felt from him in a long time. When I laughed too loudly at one of Anthony's silly jokes, he placed his hand gently on mine, a quiet reassurance that I was his. It wasn't possessive, it was grounding. And in that simple gesture, I felt loved all over again. The party wound down around midnight, with everyone tired but smiling. I walked them to the door, each of them thanking me for the food and the hospitality. Jason patted my shoulder warmly. Michael told me it had been one of the best nights he'd had in months, and Anthony, still joking, said he might just move in if I kept cooking like that. We all laughed, and I waved as they disappeared into the night. When the door finally closed, silence filled the house. I turned toward Daniel, who was already stacking plates and glasses. "You don't have to do that right now," I said softly. He shrugged, but there was a glimmer in his eyes. "Emily," he began, his voice quieter now, "I don't say this enough, but thank you. Tonight was better than I expected, and it's because of you." Those words sank deep into me. Sometimes in marriage, appreciation gets lost in routine, and all it takes is a night like this to remind us why we chose each other. I hugged him, and in that embrace, I felt all the laughter, the warmth, and the quiet love that had carried us this far. That night, as I lay in bed replaying everything, I realized the lesson hidden in that gathering. Life isn't always about grand adventures or dramatic moments. Sometimes, it's about the small nights when you open your home, share food, laugh with others, and rediscover the person beside you. It wasn't just a night party. It was a reminder of connection, of love, and of the fact that even after years of marriage, there's always something new to feel grateful for. And I knew, as I drifted off to sleep, that the memory of that evening would stay with me for years to come.